The first week of school was supposed to be a fresh start for 16-year-old Alina Khan. She had transferred from a big city high school to the quiet town of Willow Creek after her father took a new job. For Alina, this wasn't just another move, it was a chance to leave behind the whispers and gossip of her old school. She was shy, reserved, and fiercely protective of her privacy. What no one in Willow Creek knew was that Alina had been training in martial arts since she was 5 years old. She wasn't just a student, she was a black belt champion with medals lined up back home. But she never boasted about it. The story opens on her first day. The sun slanted through the old oak trees, and she walked into the school courtyard clutching her books. Her simple clothes and quiet demeanor drew little attention at first, but 3 boys, Brent, Kyle, and Mason, were leaning against the lockers, scanning the crowd like predators. They were known for making new students' lives miserable. The teachers rarely caught them, and most kids were too scared to speak up. In English class, Alina chose a seat near the back, hoping to stay invisible. She felt the stares, the whispers, and the soft chuckles. Brent and his friends had already noticed her. When the bell rang for lunch, she headed toward the cafeteria. That's when they blocked her path. "Hey new girl," Brent sneered. "Where you from? You look nervous." Alina tried to brush past them politely, keeping her eyes down. "Excuse me, please," but they didn't move. Instead, they began circling her, mocking her accent and her quiet voice. Mason reached out to tug at her backpack. Kyle leaned closer, violating her personal space. Then, crossing a line, one of them grabbed at her chest. The courtyard went silent. Alina froze for a split second. The violation cut through her like ice, not just the act itself but the public humiliation. But unlike most kids they had bullied, Alina wasn't powerless. Her years of training had drilled into her one lesson: defend yourself only when necessary, and do it with control. She dropped her books. Her eyes lifted. Something in her gaze changed from frightened to focused. Before Brent could smirk again, she pivoted, grabbed his wrist, and twisted it behind his back with a smooth lock that sent him sprawling. Kyle lunged toward her, but she sidestepped and hooked his leg, sending him face first to the ground. Mason tried to grab her arm, but she turned, delivered a controlled palm strike to his chest, not enough to injure him, but enough to push him back hard against the lockers. The onlookers gasped. Phones came out. For the first time, the bullies looked stunned. "Stop," she said, her voice steady but firm. "You do not touch me. Or anyone. Ever." Teachers rushed in seconds later, breaking up the scene. The boys scrambled to explain themselves, but the footage students had already recorded told the truth. The aftermath wasn't simple. Alina was called into the principal's office. Her hands still trembled as she explained what had happened. She feared suspension, or worse, that she'd be blamed for fighting. But the video spread fast. Parents began calling. Students whispered in awe, but also shame. Many had seen the bullies harass others but had stayed silent. Alina's parents were called to the school. Her mother put an arm around her as she spoke to the principal. "Our daughter has trained for years, but she only defends herself when necessary. She was assaulted." She responded appropriately. The school launched an investigation. Brent, Kyle, and Mason were suspended and ordered to attend counseling sessions on consent and respect. For the first time in years, the administration faced pressure to address harassment openly. But Alina's journey didn't end there. She struggled with the emotional aftermath, the humiliation of being grabbed, the adrenaline of the fight, the unwanted attention online. Some kids called her a hero, others said she overreacted. Alina questioned herself. Did she do the right thing? Could she have avoided the confrontation? She found solace in her martial arts dojo, now an hour's drive away. Her sensei reminded her, strength isn't just in the body, Alina. It's in knowing you are worthy of respect. You stood up not just for yourself, but for others who couldn't. Slowly, she began using her experience to help others. The school counselor invited her to speak at a student assembly. Nervous but determined, Alina shared her story, not the viral version, but the honest one, how scared she'd been, how violated she'd felt, how she wished no one else would have to experience that. She talked about boundaries, consent, and self-defense as empowerment, not aggression. The room was quiet when she finished. Then students began clapping. A few girls came up to her afterward with tears in their eyes, thanking her for speaking out. Even some boys apologized for laughing along with the bullies before. Weeks turned into months. The culture at Willow Creek High began to shift. Teachers implemented clearer policies. Students organized workshops about respect and consent. Alina started an after-school self-defense club that welcomed anyone, not to fight, but to learn confidence, awareness, and respect for others. As for Brent, Kyle, and Mason, counseling and community service gradually changed them too. One day, Brent approached Alina after class. His voice was quiet, ashamed. "I'm sorry," he said. "We were wrong." Alina looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Thank you for saying that. Do better, .. By the end of the year, Alina wasn't the new girl anymore. She was a leader, not because she could fight, but because she turned a moment of violation into a movement for respect. Her story left a powerful message. Silence protects bullies. Speaking up changes things. Self-defense is not just about strikes and blocks, it's about knowing your worth and standing your ground. Even those who harm can change if held accountable and taught empathy. As the camera of your imagined YouTube film fades out, it doesn't show a triumphant fighter but a young girl teaching a class of boys and girls in the school gym. She demonstrates a simple wrist escape, smiles gently, and says, "This isn't about hurting people. It's about never letting someone take your power away." And in the back of the room, you see former bullies practicing alongside her, learning a new kind of strength.